Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Lace with me. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. Excited for this episode, but
Yes.
can't complain, dude. Can't complain.
I'm a little
Um,
sad. My team got knocked out of SA20 last night. I wasn't expecting much, but they're out. But yeah,
and your football,
anyway.
and your football team, and your football team.
Look, it's a dad's army, but there's nothing we can do about it. Look, I think let's get the formalities out the way. Please do follow us on X at the Full Quota Pod. Please subscribe to YouTube if you're watching us on YouTube right now. It doesn't take a lot to just hover the mouse over that subscribe button, and you'll be known when we they'll let you know when we go live, right? Like now, right? This is one of those moments where we have a podcast not on a Monday, on another day of the week, and you don't want to be missed out, and we want to join the community of comments and discussion, and we appreciate all of that on YouTube. Another place where there's comments and discussion is on Spotify. We're receiving a few more comments with the community is growing, our audio community is growing, so hello to you. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts for those people like myself who are Apple people, but I've also have a Spotify account because you can have both. So you can follow us there at Full Quota Podcast. And then one final thing is you can also support us here, buymecoffee.com/Full Quota Pod. Helps us produce more podcasts and interviews that we're going to have throughout the season. I can let you know that one half of us is going to be at Lords. And so that also helps us to be able to prepare for that World Test Championship final and figure out how we're going to bring you the content and all of that through our various platforms. We're trying to grow Instagram, TikTok, and all of those. You can follow us on those as well. But we are still older generation, so bear with us because that's what it is. What we love about the show is that we get to do interviews with key people in South African cricket and also key parties in South African cricket, and the most important one are the players. And it's really, really great that we can get players on the show to give you an insight into what's life like in domestic cricket, how their seasons are going, how their journey into cricket is going or happened. And then, so today, Tim, we have a guest.
We do indeed. An international cricketer, but a slightly different international cricketer, which we will get to once we get his story. Somebody who's played in England, somebody who is now a Titans batter, but has had two very successful seasons at Eastern Cape and Yati. So he's done both. He's done a lot. He's gone around. He's done both divisions in the new structure. It's none other than Joshua van Heerden.
Yes, the German international, Josh van Heerden. Josh, I've got a good. How does it feel if someone calls you a German international?
No different, to be very honest, but yeah, proud to play for Germany. It's been good fun. They've given me an opportunity in a very different space. So yeah, I really appreciate what they've done for me.
Hey, look, Rory Burns is playing for Italy now, so it's something prestigious because I think Rory Burns was quite a good test player for Australia at times. It was a little weird from a technique perspective, but yeah.
On this podcast, we are not looking down on the smaller nations. We like that. We enjoy that. That gives us flavor. Absolutely. We love it. So don't get the wrong impression.
Sure. Josh, first question. How did you get into cricket?
I have an older brother that loved the game, and I guess as any younger brother, your older brother is your hero when you're little. So you kind of copy what he does, and yeah, I guess we played all sports, and cricket just ended up being the one.
And on that journey, outside of your brother, was there anybody there that guided you when there were moments perhaps that you thought maybe cricket's not for me, maybe I need to go the academic route or whatever, or any other route? Was there one or two people that said, no, you've actually got something here that's actually worth pursuing, so to speak?
There were a couple of people along the way that played significant roles. I think Jimmy and Ryan Cook played a significant role. They always sort of made me believe that I was good enough to play professional cricket. From very little, they always said you've got hand-eye coordination that gives you the ability to do what others can't. And then at high school, a guy called Greg Smith, I was fortunate enough that sort of towards the back end of my high school career, he came in to coach at St. Albans College. And he had played the game, been around a bit. And yeah, he also said, look, I can't see why you shouldn't make it to the top. And they obviously give you quite a bit of confidence. But I guess when I was younger, it was kind of all sports, any sport that was going. If tennis was happening, I was playing tennis. I loved my rugby, and rugby at school in South Africa is the be-all and end-all. So there will be, I guess very few things can match the adrenaline pump you get there. So I guess it was all sports, but at the end, I guess in matric, when you play S under 19 and you have a coach that backs you like Greg Smith and says, look, there's a good chance, then you give it a go.
That's good. Yeah, so you played S under 19 and you played some tests, and Tim and I were talking about the test match that just happened and how the under 19s got bowled out ridiculously by spin. How was your experience when you played that test against Sri Lanka and or that series? And was that your first time in terms of like playing 4-day cricket, or was it? Yeah, how different was it to what you normally do? Because back in age group cricket, there's like 3-day matches, but you don't play, or 2-day matches, but you don't play more than that.
Yeah, very different. So I didn't play more than I think I played one or maybe two 2-day games. So very, very different. Not what we used to, but we were quite well prepared. They prepared us really well, and we had a really nice side that gelled very quickly. And I had good fun. It was the wickets they gave us turned, but they weren't impossible to bat on. And I guess it helped that there were a couple of guys that were in form on that tour. So it meant that when someone wasn't scoring, someone else picked up the slack, and we sort of made it work. And we actually had quite a good test series. So yeah, I had a lot of fun, lots of fun.
Yeah, and you made runs in those test matches. If my memory serves me correct, you made a couple of 50s. So at that stage, after the series is done, where was your career heading? Was that now you are now going to be a professional cricketer? That's what you were thinking, or was there still an inkling that maybe this is great, this is wonderful, I love this, I've played for my country, but now I perhaps need to do something else?
I think I got given a lot of confidence from that tour. I ended up scoring quite a few runs, and now hold a few records for South Africa in Test cricket from an under 19 point of view. So it gave you the confidence that you can play at that level. To be honest, then there were a couple of conversations I had with county cricket, with a couple of counties that found out that I had a German passport. And at that stage, before Brexit, you could come and play. You could come and play as a Colpack player. And that was quite an enticing offer I got from a few counties. But my parents decided to put academics first and said I have to go study at university. So decided to head off to university. And yeah, I guess going to university, I gave it the chance that I could in terms of playing cricket, but also studied and had a lot of fun at university, as any student does. But I think it just gave me the confidence. I don't think I'd say that I'd decided this is the be-all and end-all. whether I make it or not. But it certainly gave me the confidence that I could make it. And I guess, things sort of fell in the right direction. And here I am at the moment.
I think we're thankful that your parents pulled the academic card. But
Well,
look,
you never know
academics
what's going to
is
happen in the future. So, yeah.
you never do. Josh, you are one of the few players that have played in both Division 1 and Division 2 of the new system. And we've spoken to a couple of guys in Division 2, but we've never spoken to someone who's played across both, right? And so how was it when you were in EP, playing for the Inyati, and this thing has just started? And take us through that time in Division 2 and how things were in that division.
Yeah, so very good. I had a very good experience where I was at Inyati. The first year, unfortunately, I tore my ACL and was out for 9 months, so missed the first season. Came back second season. We had a really good side on paper. I think we sort of underperformed a bit. We could have done a bit better with the side we had on paper, with the likes of Marco Murray, Gideon Peters, Jason Niemand. Those guys are good cricketers. We underperformed a bit. Jay de Klerk as well. But I enjoyed it. I had good fun. Paul Adams was very good, very organized. Made sure that we maximized what we could get in terms of facilities and balls and getting time in the middle before competitions, having middle sessions, doing range hitting sessions. He was really good at doing things like that. And Tumelo Wadibe, who was our assistant coach, worked really hard. So I really enjoyed my time there. And yeah, we had a really good setup with the coaching staff that we had, the players that we had. They ran it in a very professional manner. So yeah, I had good fun there.
And you talked about the injury, which I was actually going to touch on, because I came across an interview where you said that it was actually an important time for you to have a place like that, and a place that you could call home. And you did touch on it, as you just touched on now, Paul Adams's coaching, and how important it is to have a coach like that A, wants you, B, believes in you, and gives you the freedom to play your game. How important was that for you for those 2 seasons that you were there? Because your numbers for them were impressive, particularly in the 4-day competition.
Yeah, I think it made a massive difference. I think in any play it makes a huge difference. I think there are numerous examples when you go around. When a player gets back, you see often returns the favor. If I look at that season, I started well in the T20 comp. I did all right in the 4-day comp. And then in the 1-day comp, sort of hit form at a very good time where we played a lot of cricket back to back. So there wasn't much of a break in between to sort of get out of form. And I think I went 4 or 5 games in the 1-day comp without going out. Averaged over 200, and strike rate was around 100 as well. Very disappointing that we didn't win that comp. But he could have very easily, at some point during the initial stage of the 4-day competition, been like, you're averaging mid-30s. Let's give someone else a go. But he sort of just kept playing me, and yeah, as much as I might not have scored a big 100 for him before then, he stuck by me sort of through those 3-4-day games, averaging mid-30s, and it paid off in the end. So I think if you go through there, a couple of guys where they've just been backed and given an opportunity. I look at a guy like Tristan Stubbs, who's done unbelievably well, and who's a really good mate of mine. Robbie P looked at him as a youngster and said, this kid can play. And if you look where he is now, he got given really good backing by Robbie P. And things have taken off. So it definitely makes a difference. You play with a bit more freedom. Less goes through your brain when you bat, and you kind of just watch the ball. So yeah, I'm very thankful to Paul Adams for putting faith in me. And glad I could repay him as well with some good numbers.
Yeah, and that season was quite phenomenal, and it kind of pushed the move to the Titans. how did you first find out that the Titans were looking to, I assume, bring you back home since you are St. Albans boy, but you never know.
Well, this isn't home necessarily anymore. My parents have moved down to the Eastern Cape. So yeah, it's home in a sense. It still feels like home, but it's not home, I guess. And I was actually going out for supper with a couple of mates. I don't know if we had just finished our 4-day comp, because 4-day cricket was at the end. I don't know if it was day 3 or it might have been day 4 of one of the 4-day games. And I got a phone call from my agent asking if I can chat. I said, yeah, I can chat for 5 minutes quickly. And he was like, the Titans are interested. This is the offer they've sent through. And let's think about it and we'll chat about it. So yeah, it was towards the end of that season. I think it was our last game. It was day 3 or day 4. Maybe the game had just ended. I had up and got a phone call from my agent to say Titans are interested.
Awesome. Talk us about those challenges. From going from Division 2 to Division 1, going from a team where you play most of the games to a Titans 11, which is stacked with international cricketers. How challenging has that been, and is that for you to make that transition that you've made?
So I think I found parts of it challenging, especially when coming into a game you do well and then next game you get dropped, or if you don't do well you're definitely getting dropped. Sometimes you do well and an international comes back, and because of the requirements in the system then they can't play you. So it has been challenging. It's very difficult to find any rhythm, and find sort of a run of form that you can blow the lights out again and really put your name on sort of an international map and on international coaches' radars. But I guess I'm definitely not the only one that's in that position. There have been plenty before me, and there'll be plenty after me that will still be in that same position. But yeah, there have been challenges. But I guess it's about making sure that when you do get your opportunity, you go all out and make sure that you make it count.
Yeah, that's true. It's a great way to look at it, actually, because I think Division 1 presents that a lot for a lot of the players. It's just 1 week in, 1 week out. And how do you keep your mindset right in the moment you will be playing? Do you have any exercise that you do? Do you have a philosophy around that?
So I think I've learned over the last little period that it's about trying to play as much cricket as you can, even if it means playing club cricket, which is obviously a level below and it's not the same standard and whatnot, but there's still nothing like time in the middle. So I think trying to play as much cricket as you can, even if you join something like an LPL or anything, there's nothing like time in the middle and scoring runs and all of those things. So I've tried to play as much cricket as I can. And then just doing the things that make you tick. So if some guys have certain processes that they go through, so from my side, it would be playing as many games as I can. If I feel like there's something specific I need to work on, making sure I put in that work in the nets, if it's a specific shot or a new skill, bowling a bit of off spin or keeping or whatever, and put the work in so that when you get the chance, you're as close to match ready as you can be. And then I guess it's just when you aren't playing, it gives you a chance to make sure you stay fit. So spend some time in the gym and make sure that you're fit and ready to go so that you're as close to match sharpness as possible. There is nothing like match sharpness. So that's why I say play as much as you can. It gets you as close to that as possible. But yeah, otherwise, not much. Try and invest back into the team. At some point, it will come back to you.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so let's get into it. How did the Germany gig come about? What happened? How did that all transpire?
So I went in order to get to the UK, or it was just after COVID, and hadn't played much cricket. So I decided, and I'd just finished studying. So decided it would be nice to play with club cricket in the UK. Got a really nice deal with one of the clubs close to London. Really good club called Weybridge. And we were trying to figure out what's the easiest way to get there, because at that stage, some guys were doing quarantine in Zanzibar, some guys were doing quarantine in Kenya, because South Africa was still partially on, not sure whether they were on the red list or not, and guys didn't want to quarantine in hotels and all of those things. So I ended up going over on my German passport and got kind of like a repatriation flight with Lufthansa back to Germany and flew from Germany to the UK. And then one of the agents, I worked through an agent, but he didn't say anything. But then there was another agent, Stephen Hurst, who knew our ex-German coach. He somehow picked up that I was playing on a German passport and whatnot, got a hold of me, said, "Are you happy for me to pass your details on to the German coach?" I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Didn't think much of it. And then they got a hold of me saying, "Look, are you keen to play? Here are the terms that you're going to play on, whatnot. This is what we were coming up. What can you commit to?" And yeah, sort of went from there. And it's been awesome. It was good fun to go to Spain. Played a bit there. And then qualifiers was lots of fun. Playing in Scotland was really good fun. Good quality cricket, well-run tournament, very well organised. So yeah, it's been a privilege to play there.
That's good.
You play.
Are there any more German games coming up?
Yeah, there are a couple planned for this sort of our off period now. There were a couple of T20 series games coming up, hoping to obviously boost our ranking points, get a bit higher. And I think, not 100% sure, it depends on what the German government decides, but they're trying to push to see if they can get an Olympic side or get the German government to fund them to go to the Olympics and push to be part
for
of
LA.
Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting way to get to the Olympics. That would be amazing if you guys did it. It would be insane.
It would be awesome. So yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
Mpho, your question, I think it's you.
Okay, don't worry, Tim. Yes. So, how was club cricket in the UK? A lot of guys go there, and they talk about how beneficial it is to play on those wickets. What are the couple of things that you've learned that you've brought back to South Africa and applied by playing that side, especially in that club scene? Because it looks like that club scene is very strong. Andre now pops in and out here and there sometimes in that Essex League. But yeah, how's your experience?
Yeah, I had good fun. Weybridge was awesome. They looked after me really well. From a cricketing point of view, the level of cricket is definitely a standard or two, at least two standards lower than sort of playing professional cricket this side. But you get, because you have other overseas pros, and often what the clubs do, if they're wealthy enough and you're in a good league, they'll pay a couple of the guys who are playing county cricket to play for their club. So when they're not part of the travelling 13, you can have a side that can have 2 or 3 county players plus an overseas pro, plus maybe 1 or 2 up-and-coming youngsters who are looking to go pro. So you end up with sort of 6 or 7 really good cricketers. And then the level of cricket's high. And then they might even have 1 or 2 guys who are ex-county players that are getting on a bit, but still very skillful. So the level, I found, if you're in sort of the top 6 teams in a league, can be very good. The lower teams, not as good. But the level's good cricket. I think it gives you a chance also just to maybe practice 1 or 2 things that without as much pressure on you. So if there's something new shot or something new that you're wanting to try out, you're able to practice it. And if it doesn't come off, it's not the same as here where the next game you might be dropped. You're playing week in, week out, and there are certain times when you play certain teams where the game's sort of wrapped up and you can try 1 or 2 things. And if you do go out, or if you want to try a different delivery, bowling, the game's sort of come to an end. And you've won it or lost it quite convincingly. So, yeah, it was good fun. And definitely, like I said, I think, especially with the way cricket's going at the moment in South Africa, and if you a domestic cricketer who's not playing SA20, you could end up only playing sort of 5 to 7 games in a 12-month period. 5 to 7 games of cricket is not enough cricket to improve. So it just gives you a chance to then, instead of playing 5 to 7 games in 12 months, you can go and play another 25 games and end up playing 32 games in 12 months. And you make sure you keep your match sharpness and just keep being good at actually playing cricket. I think I was having a conversation with one or two of the other guys. I think there are a couple of guys in our country, and it's just unfortunate that this is how the system is. But there are a couple of guys that have become really good guys at training and not such good actual players. They're not that good at playing the game, but they become really good at training because they've just trained so much and haven't played enough cricket. So that gap where they used to be really good players and maybe average trainers, they're now really good trainers and average players. And in the previous system, if you weren't playing franchise cricket, you were still playing semi-pro cricket, and you were playing a good level of cricket. Semi-pro cricket, I found semi-pro cricket harder than what cricket is now because you played with a regulation on a side strip that often wasn't as prepared against some really good bowlers. Still, the ball definitely did a lot more. Then, especially playing at the coast, playing at St George's, it offered the bowlers a hell of a lot. So it was actually very tough and competitive cricket. It was actually probably the toughest cricket I've played was semi-pro cricket. So I think losing that has meant that the guys that aren't your guaranteed starters actually end up training a hell of a lot and not playing a lot, which is quite detrimental to them.
Yeah, no, that's...
I was just going to say, sorry, he's just answered my next question, and I answered it perfectly. It's sad, but perfectly, absolutely perfectly. It's very interesting to hear that semi-professional, for the reasons you raised, and it makes perfect sense, was better than what we have at the moment, and that without it, we are missing something. That's a very good point. Silly question. You've kind of already answered it. If we were to pick a format where we had more games, where the Cricket South Africa said, right, okay, we know there's not enough games, what format would it be? If we could only have one, you can't have all three because of the congested schedule.
Good question.
What one format would you have more games on to be better prepared?
So I think the ideal situation would be, in the current situation, you're playing 7 games over each format. Ideally, you'd like to play 10 first-class games. That would make a big difference. And then T20 cricket is the way the game is going. And it's definitely from a financial point of view and a fan base point of view and everything. Yes, Test cricket is definitely still alive, and that's the ultimate. But in terms of from a domestic structure point of view, drawing fans, 4-day cricket is not going to draw fans that Test cricket draws. So Test cricket is still alive, but from a domestic point of view, to keep domestic franchises alive, you need to be able to have media content, marketing content, all of those things, and to bring fans into stadiums, you need to play more T20 cricket. So ideally, if you could play, and I mean, I'm not answering your question exactly how you want me to, but it would be to play double header T20 cricket, so 14 T20 games, the way they did last season. Keep your one-day cricket the same. Just make sure there's a semi-final and final, or not just a once-off final, and then 10 first-class games. I think that would stand our system in good stead. It would allow coaches to rotate teams, to give more players an opportunity. And because at the moment, if you rotate your side and you lose 2 games, all of a sudden you can be knocked out of the top 4 if your big boys don't come through at a certain point. So a coach is also under serious pressure. He's unable to develop players. Playing 7 games, it's just impossible. Your margin for error is just too small. So I think if you could get 10 first-class games, 7 7 one-day games, 10 first-class games to the final, 7 one-day games, semi-final, final, and then double round robin for T20 cricket with the semi-final, final.
We had a couple of seasons where we had that, where we had 10 first-class games. I think, yeah. So when we were still playing the franchise series, where teams were split into 2 groups, and you played home and away, and you played the other teams from the other group once, and it is still possible. It's just a question of, I think CSA is just calendar, and then trying to fit everything in. And my answer to them is always start the season earlier. If you need to fit in more games, it's okay if we're playing pitches that are slightly underprepared. You don't have to prepare them. They don't have to be perfect. They can become perfect towards the middle of the season, but not necessarily, I'm not worried about a pitch late August. It adds a little bit of spice. Batters become a little bit better and bowlers get a little bit more. And then obviously as the season goes on, it becomes a little bit easier to bat on. But yeah, it is something that we need to consider. Josh, moving to this current one-day cup that's coming up, and looking at the Titan season so far, slow starting in the T20 Challenge, but you managed, and the 4-day series, but you managed to kind of bring that back with a couple of wins in the back end before the end of the season. Obviously we've got the one-day cup, but how would you look at your season so far? Obviously not a lot of games, but how do you think your season has gone so far?
Yeah, I think it's been decent. Obviously, not a lot of games. Unfortunately, I broke my hand at the start of the T20 comp, so that didn't help. 4-day comp, I think I started well. Would have been nice to get one big score, getting 2 sort of starts and getting 2 50s, and then going out. I think the Lions, the wicket we played against the Lions on was very tough to bat on.
I remember that, yeah.
I look at our innings, we were under pressure. They were under pressure both times. They were 4 for 4 at the stage. So that wicket was tough to bat on. So, yeah, I think if I could have got a big score against the Dolphins, it would have been nice. I think I'd set it up and done all the hard work to get a big score. But, yeah, there's still 3 games to go in the 4-day comp and an entire one-day comp as well. So, like I said, I think it's one of those things where if I take where I was at Inyati, obviously I maybe started a bit better in the one-day comp. In the T20 comp at Inyati, but I take where I was there, one big score changes your season. You go from averaging 30 right now to averaging 60, and then another big score and you're averaging close to 100. So, yeah, I think all cricket's a bit like that. If you isolate a guy for certain 5 innings, it doesn't look great. But once you look at a period of 20 innings, your top guys come good at some point. If you isolate 10 innings, they've done well in 8. But if you isolate another 10 innings, they've only done well in 2. So, yeah, I think it's one of those things where doing the right things, getting a good start, hitting the ball well, now it's just about making sure that when we get in again, we make sure we go big and get one really big score.
Yeah. You obviously said that playing regularly and playing as often as possible is important, and I think it is at the stage of your career. It is important to play as often as you can, and challenge yourself as often as you can. But on those off times, what does Josh van Heerden do when cricket's not part of the day?
So I think as any cricketer, golf is a really good downtime, good time to spend with mates. So we're lucky enough that we can play quite a bit of golf. And then myself and my wife, we enjoy testing out new coffee shops. Just a bit of fun for us on the weekend when she's got time off. And then between a group of us at the Titans, paddle gets quite competitive. So, yeah, when guys are available and bodies aren't too sore and not too tired, there's a group of about 5 or 6 of us where if you can get 4 guys together, you can play a really good game of paddle. So, yeah, probably those 3 would be. And if I have enough time left, then head back to the Eastern Cape and get on a boat and ski and just be at the beach.
So still very
cool.
active. That's cool.
One final one from me, Josh. Obviously, this year seems quite packed for you, obviously, in terms of cricket. You're going to be going to the UK, but obviously, you've got that One Day Cup coming up. Do you set goals for the entire season? Is it just I just want to get games, I just want to get runs under the belt, or do you have targets that you want to get to?
So I set goals per comp. So each comp I'll
Mhm.
have a certain goal. Some of them are measurable in terms of performance and runs or wickets or whatever, run outs and stuff like that. Others are sort of just daily goals that you can tick off and part of a process that you go through. Because I think sometimes with cricket being, like they say, the best guys are successful 33% of the time, you're going to feel like you're failing more often than not. So sometimes just finding a process that you can tick that allows you to, I guess, be successful just gives you that sort of added confidence when you're going into a game. So definitely goals. I think what I found a little bit harder over the last 2 years is setting goals, but not knowing how much game time you're going to get. Has made it quite difficult. So you can set yourself a goal, I want to score X number of runs. If you play 20% of the competition, you're not going to get there. It's just not possible. So I think it's also about finding a balance. When you set those goals, sit down at the end of the comp, but also then understand, okay, how many games, what played, what could have I done better. But I think the more I've played and the more I've spoken to guys at like sort of that top international level, it's just about controlling what you can control and making sure that your process that you're going through is giving you the best chance. Obviously, if you do your process and you fail 10 times out of 10 times, maybe you need to change your process. There's something that's not right in your process. But if your process has yielded success, just keep at it. At some point, things will fall your way.
That's beautiful. I think process is really important, especially in a sport like cricket. It's an inherent game of failure, right? And it's just as you said, you just need to find a way to just make sure that you don't dwell on that. But I think you've kind of outlined quite a lot of things and activities that kind of take your mind off the game and take your mind off of what you do. Josh, that's I think the end of our interview. What we want to do is just wish you all the best for the One Day Cup. I'm a Lions supporter, so I'll say the final for you guys. But
you guys have enough trophies at the moment. We need one back.
Exactly.
Look, you had us 4 for 4.
You can make
you had us 4 for 4, and you still found a way to lose, which was the most ridiculous 2 days of cricket I've ever experienced in my life.
This one's coming back to us. Just make peace with it. This one's coming back.
Okay, cool. But I wish you as many runs as possible. I wish you all the best for your season this year and also for Germany. It'd be beautiful to see you come through, and we know that you can still play for South Africa if you are selected, because Germany doesn't have test status. But you never know, by the end of the time they're done with you, you might actually help them get there. So that would be really awesome. But Josh, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks,
cool.
Josh.
Thank you very much, Josh. Cheers.
Thanks,
bye.
Cheers.
Tim, that was a great interview with, I think, one of the more underrated batters in domestic cricket. I think he's really, really a good batter, and he's in a good team, in a good spot. Just obviously the Titans have millions of internationals, so hopefully by the time Champions Trophy is done, he'll have cemented his place in that team.
Yeah, look, those are the sorts of interviews that I enjoy the most. Now, I'm not going to say we're not going to interview star-studded proteas, but I just enjoy unsung, lesser known players. That's what I enjoy those, because they have a myriad of stories and their journeys are very, very different. They're not all the same. As Josh said, there was a chance there, if things had gone a different way, he might be playing county cricket now. But his journey took him within seconds from that back to South African cricket. And I think it's an asset for us. I think he's the sort of individual that we need, young, up-and-coming players who can play all three formats. And I think there's a future ahead there. But as you say, if he can make it at the Titans, that will be massive for his career. Absolutely massive. But yeah, as I say, I always enjoy those stories. They're always interesting.
Yeah, and we look forward to more. We've got a lot of interviews lined up, and the only way you can find out is if you are subscribed to YouTube. Like, follow us on Facebook. On X at Full Quarter Pod, and also please do, for the audio people, the audio community, Full Quarter Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and remember you can buy some coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Full Quarter Pod to help us do this a lot more.
Mpho needs a budget for England. Just put it there.
Don't say like that. But it would be great, and I will promise that we'll do a show every day of the World Test Championship. It's gonna be wild, to say the least. And yeah, hopefully, this thing of South Africa getting to finals and losing is going to be a problem. But if you buy some coffee, it'll go a long way to make sure Timber breaks the curse. At least you want that, right? Can't get into finals and lose. Let Timber help us break the curse. And then, yeah, I'm just worried we're going to get to a Champions Trophy final and actually win. But I'll take that. I'll take that anytime. But anyway, Tim, Josh, everyone, thank you very much for this. And yeah, we'll be back on Monday talking the final of the SA20. Enjoy qualifier 2 today. Well, you're probably either watching after qualifier 2, so you know that the Pearl Royals have beaten the Sunrisers. Do not allow the Sunrisers back into that final. If you do, it's a three-peat. I'm telling you now, they were down and out, and every other team allowed them back in. So don't allow them into that final, because MI Cape Town, with all the fancy players, all the fancy bowlers, can find themselves in trouble. And you know what Aiden Markham does in a big spot, like last night. He scores runs. And yeah, but he only scores runs in orange. When he's wearing green, he doesn't want to score runs. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe we must put an orange jersey underneath his green jersey and maybe we'll win a final. Who knows? I don't know. That's just me. Anyway, to everybody, have a good day. Goodbye. And le sale kakagiso.